October 12, 1942. 14 Nachts. Southwest of Stalingrad. The steppe is a sheet of black ice. The wind needles across the plains with a hiss sharp enough to cut through wool. And above it, barely visible, you hear it before you see it. Not an engine, not a roar, just a whisper. A Luftwaffe sentry named Unteroffizier Karl Brenner lifts his head from his frostbitten post, squinting into the void. His breath hangs in the air like a dying ghost. Something moves up there, something too slow, too fragile, too impossible to be an aircraft. But the sky is lying. A shape glides overhead, wings trembling like the bones of an old attic door. No engine, no lights, no sound but the cold slicing through canvas. And suddenly, fwip, 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 tiny cylinders detach, falling in a lazy arc. Brenner's pupils shrink. The ground shudders. A magazine tent erupts in a bloom of fire. Another explosion coughs, sparks into the dark. Men dive into trenches, screaming about witches. Not aircraft, not soldiers. Witches. Nachthexen, 5 kilometers away, in the freezing cockpit of that rickety biplane, Junior Lieutenant Nadezhda Popova finally restarts her engine. The old Polikarpov P-2 kicks alive with a sputtering whine, with frames rattling, canvas skin rippling. She can't feel her fingers. She can barely feel her legs. But she can feel the weight of the 2-fist-sized bomb she just dropped and the German chaos behind her. Her navigator, Yevdokia Borshanskia, taps her shoulder with numb knuckles. That's one pass. We go again. Popova nods, teeth chattering so violently it hurts. The altimeter flickers in the moonlight, barely 300 meters. Any lower, and the trees will scythe them out of the air. But they turn back anyway. Because tonight, like every night, they are hunting. And somewhere on the ground, Luftwaffe pilots, men with thousands of hours of flight time, are still mocking the rumor that Soviet women are flying farm planes against the Reich. They call them amateurs. Clowns. Witches on broomsticks. Yet here they are, forcing veteran German aces to fire wildly into the night at ghosts. As Popova lines up for her second, even riskier glide, she sees something new, muzzle flashes stabbing up from a distant tree-line. Searchlights beginning to sweep. The Germans have learned. They're waiting, but so are the shadows. And a deadly secret of the 588th Night Bomber Regiment is about to reveal itself. The searchlights bloom like white spears, slicing the darkness apart. Their beams carve halos through the drifting snow, sweeping in frantic arcs as if clawing for something they can't quite believe is real. Popova kills the engine again. Silence. Just the whistle of air over canvas. You could almost hear her heartbeat if you were close enough. The P-2 drops into its glide, becoming nothing more than a drifting shadow. A leaf on the wind. A ghost pretending to be night itself. Below, German 20mm flak-Vierling cannons ignite the steppe with a furious roar, 4 barrels vomiting fire into the sky. Tracers streak upward, glowing red like the eyes of angry wolves. Soldiers shout over the detonations, each explosion illuminating their terror. Nachthexen, bring them down, bring them down. Popova feels the shock waves vibrate through the fragile wooden frame. The P-2 wasn't built to take hits. It wasn't even built for war. A training plane, a crop duster, a relic. Every shell that passes could turn her and Borshanskia into splinters scattered across the snow. Her navigator presses her palm against Popova's shoulder, steady, rhythmic, fearless. Hold it, not yet. The light flashes across their fuselage, once then gone. They duck under it by pure instinct. Borshanskia whispers the release time. Popova tightens her grip. Another explosion blooms close, too close, shaking the wooden struts. For a heartbeat, she thinks the wing has snapped. But the little biplane holds. It always holds. Maybe because it's too light to die the way metal aircraft die. Maybe because the night protects its own. Now, 2 bombs drop. They don't scream. They fall, soft, soundless, merciless. Seconds later, a fuel dump erupts behind the German front line, painting the snow in orange fire. A wave of heat rises like a breath from hell. Men scatter, blinded by the sudden inferno. Popova restarts the engine, this time on the first try. The P-2 leaps back into the sky like a startled bird. But the momentary relief shatters when a bullet tears through the lower wing. The fabric flutters wildly, like a witch's shredded cloak. Popova yanks the stick, fighting to keep lift. A single hole can kill a P-2. A single tear can doom it. Brushanskia, it doesn't look scared. She looks furious. These aces think they can hit us, she mutters. Let them try. But Popova knows the truth. Tonight, the Germans are adjusting. Tonight, the jokes about broomsticks are fading. And in the command bunker behind the lines, Luftwaffe officers are gathered around a map, listening to frantic radio reports. One seasoned captain, veteran of the Battle of Britain, leans over the table, jaw clenched. What do you mean you can't track them? He snaps. They glide. The radio operator stammers. Sir, they cut their engines. They vanish until they're right above us. The officer pauses. Broomsticks, he called them yesterday. Laughable toys piloted by girls. But these toys are destroying ammunition depots, supply convoys, artillery positions, every night. Every single night. His fingers trace the red pins, marking the latest losses. The pattern is unmistakable. Find out who they are, he whispers, and how to stop them. Back in the frozen sky, Popova steadies the wounded aircraft. The lights of Stalingrad flicker faintly in the distance, like dying stars. But she isn't heading home yet. Not even close. Tonight's mission requires 3 runs. They've finished 2. As they bank for the 3rd, the horizon reveals something new. A dark cluster of shapes rising from the east. More P-2s. Dozens. The entire regiment is arriving. And somewhere inside that swarm of wooden shadows is Major Marina Raskova herself. The legendary navigator. The woman who founded the 588th. The woman who dared to tell Stalin that the sky belonged to women too. Her presence means one thing. The regiment fans out across the sky like a constellation that only appears in wartime. Dozens of P-2 silhouettes drifting low, engines sputtering on and off in a pattern that feels almost choreographed. Each glide is a ghostly heartbeat. Each restart, a whisper of defiance. At the center of the formation flies Major Marina Raskova. Her goggles are frosted, her fingers stiff, but her voice, calm, unshaken, cuts through the radio with the certainty of someone who has stared death in the teeth and learned its rhythms. Girls, 3rd run. Straight through. No hositashchen. One by one. Crews acknowledge. Voices young, tired, and unwavering. Below them, the German position crackles with radio panic. Multiple contacts, too many to track. They're everywhere, sir. Where are their engines? The searchlights begin thrashing wildly, beams stitching across the sky like panicked scribbles. Tracer fire balloons upward, turning the darkness into a storm of red comets. But the P-2 slip between them, slow, fragile, unpredictable. A nightmare for any gunner trained to lead targets at speed. Popova dives into the formation's final approach. Her damaged wing groans, threatening mutiny with every gust. Brushanskia leans forward, reading the ground fire patterns, calculating angles with the cold precision of someone who has survived too many nights to trust luck. Cut now. Popova kills the engine. Silence again, pure, terrifying silence. The world narrows to the slice of moonlit snow beneath them. Tents, trucks, fuel drums, the heartbeat of a frontline battalion. More bombs fall from the formation silent, gentle, inevitable. Then the earth convulses. One blast, then another, then 5 more, rolling outward like thunder across a dead sea. Flames spear upward, painting the P-2s in hellish orange. German soldiers run choking through smoke, shouting warnings that come too late. And high above the chaos, veteran Luftwaffe aces scramble into cockpits, desperate to retaliate. Engines scream to life. Propellers flash. Fighters claw into the air. But they're too fast, too powerful. Their engines roar past the P-2s, overshooting before they can even aim. .1 Ace curses as he loops back his Messerschmitt, nearly stalling in the turn. Another fires blindly, tracers slicing empty darkness. Up here, speed is a weapon. But tonight it betrays them. One by one, the fighters peel away, forced to retreat or risk stalling into the snow. And below them, women flying aircraft made of wood and fabric continue their attack undeterred. For the first time since the war began, those hardened aces stare into the night and realize they're not hunting witches. They're being haunted by them. The fires rage for hours. The German supply line already stretched thin by the siege breaks. Convoys are delayed. Ammunition runs low. Morale fractures. And in that tightening ring around Stalingrad, where every bullet and loaf of bread determines survival, the impossible begins. The tide shifts. When Popova finally lands back at base, her two creaks like a dying tree. Mechanics run toward her, shocked it's still airworthy. Bershanskaya climbs out stiffly, brushing frost from her nose, the ghost of a smile forming. Raskova lands moments late. She removes her goggles, revealing eyes that shine not with pride, but with understanding. She knows what tonight means, what it will mean for the war, what it will mean for history. The women gather around her, breath forming tiny clouds in the pre-dawn stillness. Raskova speaks softly. They thought we were a joke. She looks at her regiment. Young, freezing, exhausted, unbreakable. Now they fear the sound of silence. Dawn creeps over the steppe, turning smoke into golden haze. Far away, the German lines still burn. And with that sunrise, the Luftwaffe's confidence dims for the first time. The night witches had been mocked, dismissed, laughed at. But on nights like this, nights when the sky itself went quiet, they carved their legend into the bones of Stalingrad. That was the true story of Great War. If you like this, then like and subscribe for more learning about WW2.